What up, dudes? Happy Halloween, and welcome back to the Warframe video. Today we're going to talk about the Abyss of Dagath update. Some problems I have with it, some praises I have for it, and everything in between. It's basically a review of the Abyss of Dagath update, which we've had for about like 2 weeks at this point. So if you enjoy these types of videos, build videos, discussion videos, farming, guide videos, all that stuff, make sure you're hitting that sub button. We do daily Warframe video uploads on this channel. And also, check out the live stream. I'll be live tonight with some Halloween Warframe gameplay. Probably have a pumpkin on my head and do some, like, Nabarris or something. So, yeah, that's our Warframe Halloween around here. Alright, let's get right into it and discuss and critique the update. There is no personal attacks on DE devs in here, just to clarify if any interns watching this video see what this crazy guy's saying this time. Okay? This is just going to be gameplay critique, not dev critique. Just put that out there, okay? Alright, first off, let's start with what was added in this update. We got the Hydroid Rework, we got the new frame Dagath, we got shield gating changes, and shield changes in general, we got companion changes, and we technically got call mission and Archon changes too. So let's go over that stuff. If there's anything I'm forgetting, it's because it wasn't as important to me, to be honest. I think we have some like UI number changes stuff too, so... we also did technically get auto melee and enemy highlight feature, which I am utilizing in the footage on the screen. I'm using the enemy highlight feature, and that's actually quite nice. Maybe nicer than it's supposed to be. So let's start off with the biggest things here. So, the Hydroid Rework. I think it went really well. Some players may argue that his identity as a puddle is gone now, but I think his new identity of being a corrosive pirate king is, it's a much more prestigious title, maybe. You went from the puddle boy to the pirate king. I think that in One Piece, that's probably going to be an upgrade as far as their pirate hierarchy, even though I've never watched it. So, yeah, he went from basically having impact and magnetic abilities before to now all his abilities do corrosive, and he also can, fully remove enemy armor with just corrosive proc, something that no other frame can actually do. And he has a massive armor buff, too, making it where he can actually even face tank with health on the steel path to a certain extent. So that is a massive, massive glow up. There went from being, like, people that claim they're Hydroid mains, I laughed at them, to there's, like, a bunch of Hydroid mains now, and I ain't laughing at them. I'm right next to them playing Hydroid too much. So, Hydroid Rework, good job on that. It gives me more hope for reworks in the future, as far as, like, a Naros, Caliban, Valkyr, Loki, blah, blah, blah. So... really cool there. I hope that whoever did these reworks, Pablo, keeps doing them and is given more, real estate to do these in the future because they are very successful. I'm not sure if these make DE a lot of money, but maybe when Hydroid Prime Access or Prime Resurgence comes back, it will. I'll tell you what, for traders, it's making them a lot of plat. As Hydroid's price went from like 50 or 60 or 70 or whatever before the announcement and the rework, now he's like pushing on 200 basically, or higher. So... good in that regard, too. So, Hydroid Prime Rework, a home run. Let's move on to Dagath, the new frame. Now, this is a character that a lot of people were telling me is not very inspired. They're like, oh, yeah, she's good and all, but she's not very inspired. She's just got, viral procs on her 1. She's got crit damage buff and, damage over time on her 2. It's apparently, the exact same abilities in Hades. I've never played Hades, but apparently it's the same ability as in the Hades game. Her third ability is a crit damage buff and a free extra life, which basically Voruna has something like that besides the crit damage buff. And her 4 is a armor stripping, death horse attack. So, I mean, those don't sound very, uninspired to me, at least. We don't really have an ability that does the damage over time thing that her 2 does, the Doom buff. We don't really have an armor stripping, ghost horse army attack, like a nuke that also armor strips. I don't think we really have that many things like that. Correct me if I'm wrong here. And then we do technically have a frame that can give you an extra life, but that extra frame, or rather, extra life is a passive of the frame on Voruna. It's one of her 4 passives, and to be honest, it's on the ability that most people helmet off in the first place, too. So, I'm really liking Dagath. I have 1 or 2 more builds I want to put out on her before I, call it a day on making Dagath builds for a little bit. But yeah, I am enjoying her. She's not my new favorite frame, but she is quite good for weapon buffs and good for nuking with just abilities on the steel path in general. So those are 2 things I look for in a frame, good weapon buffs and good steel path, no weapon nuking. So I will say her survivability is weird. They just did a shield getting change and she has no shields at all. She also has 150 armor, one of the lowest armor values you can get in the entire game. So that one's weird too. It's okay, so they want us to use catalyzing shields, the new shield getting mod they just changed. But also, like, why does she have 666 health? Is that just for funnies? I guess so. So there's some parts of her I definitely think it's like, okay, like this seemed like an inside joke or something, the fact that you made this. But at the same time, I do like her. I like her more than... actually, do I like her more than Voruna and Citrine? I think I like her more than... Kalervo. The reason I don't like Kalervo as much because he has no shields. So at least Dagath can do level 10,000 without dying constantly, like Kalervo does. So that's unfortunate. But still, hey, you know what? I like her more than some of the newer frames. But I think I like Voruna and Citrine more. So yeah, just honestly, there's nothing really to critique there in my eyes. New frames are new frames. I'm not like looking for some freaking spiritual journey when they design new abilities in this game. I'm looking for a effective, powerful frame that looks cool. I don't need I don't need it to like redefine game design when they make Kalervo's second ability. It's like, oh my gosh, did you see how artistic that was? I don't care about that stuff personally. I care more about the art design, and I think the Dagath looks cool. I think her primary helmet looks kind of dumb, but her alt helmet makes up for it because her alt helmet looks great. So moving on to the next thing to critique. Actually, no, we're not done with talking about the Dagath. Here's one of my biggest problems with the Abyss of Dagath update. And it's going to be the new Abyssal Zone mission. Why does this even exist? I know exactly why it exists, because that's where you farm Dagath from for free. I don't think I have a key for it. You have to buy a key for 5,000 rep from your syndicate, and the only thing that drops in this mission, this is a permanent addition to the game, by the way, only thing that drops in this mission is the Vein Thorns to build Dagath and to build her weapon. As far as other new loot, there is nothing in this new Abyssal Beacon Zone besides Dagath resources. And if you haven't played it yet, I've only played it once. It's an Exterminate where you go find a little box. Once you find the box, it becomes like kind of like a Dragon Key Vault where there's a negative modifier, but it's still an Exterminate. So you have to kill like what, 200 enemies? So it's a 200 enemy kill mission. And there's no like new arcanes. This would be a perfect time to add Umbral Redirection with the new shield changes, but they didn't do that. So this is a sore thumb to me. As someone that bought Dagath and bought her weapon, I have no reason to go to this garbage mission. Like, honestly, I have no reason to go there. It's apparently an Eximus stronghold, so I guess you could maybe farm some focus there if you were really desperate, but there's really good focus farms already in the game. So this right here was a massive dud. It's not worth your syndicate rep once you got Dagath. It's not worth just grinding on a casual Tuesday. Unlike the missions that were added in other updates, I consider the same scope of this one. In the Citrine's Last Wish update, we got Mere Defense, which is only one node, but it's a permanent node, just like where is it? It's a permanent node, just like the Abyssal Zone, but this actually has special loot tied to it. It's called Tiana Pass. There we go. There's special arcanes that drop here. Not only does those arcanes drop, but also the new frame, or rather, Citrine drops here, and Citrine's weapons also drop here. So it looks worse. You can play this infinitely as much as you want, but then you look at the Abyssal Zone, it has less loot, it has, it has no special, thing going to it. The things you can get in the Abyssal Zone also come from the market. There's things that come from Tiana Pass, and also, not to mention, Circulus. The lycath's Last Wish update, I think, Varuna's Last Hunt. I don't know the Howl of Voruna, whatever the Voruna update was called. They added this. This has special loot too. This has special arcanes. This is a permanent addition to the game, just like Abyssal Zone, and it has more loot. Okay, so big dud from the Abyssal Zone as far as loot is concerned on the update. So that's one of the biggest problems for me. As someone that has already bought this stuff, what do I do from this new mission? And the answer is I don't waste my syndicate rep on that stupid new mission. But yeah, moving on past the Dagath stuff. I think Dagath is a good frame, but her farm is actually not bad, but the mission should have more to it than just an Exterminate that you get Dagath's resources from. Moving on to the next one, we got Shield Getting Changes. This actually I was pretty surprised by. I'm like, if you watch my videos before the update came out, I'm like, you know what, it's good that they're nerfing the Decaying Dragon Key. The game was too easy, man. They got to make endurance harder because Shield Getting Decaying Dragon Key cheese was too easy before. Well, I should have probably thought about that more before I said it, because it actually is easier than ever now. You don't even need a catalyzing shield. You don't even need Decaying Dragon Key. You just walk around with normal shields and then just shield gate as normal. Like, that's probably what my core video is going to be tomorrow. No catalyzing shields, no nothing. Just jump in there and you're good. Like, that's how powerful shield getting is now, and they've actually buffed it where it was 1.3 max before. Now on one of my Trinity builds I've been reworking since the previous update, I've got about 2.3 second shield gate on Trin. So I can constantly get over 2 seconds of invincibility on Trinity. And that's the same case for a lot of frames too. As long as you can fully shield regen just like before, you will have double the invincibility time. And if you are really like a stickler, you're like, I need to use my exact same build as before, you do need to sacrifice a mod slot for the catalyzing shields mod, which I think should honestly be an Exilus personally. But it is not an Exilus, so you are technically sacrificing one mod slot, and your build from before is worse, straight up. It just is, if you're using catalyzing shields. So, like, for example, my Garuda build you're seeing in the background, I have an updated Garuda build I'm working on. It's a little bit worse. I technically had to sacrifice a mod, so that sucks. But, hey, maybe that doesn't suck to you, because now it technically is a more intended way, I guess you'd say it, and you have more options. You can shield tank, you can shield regen tank, you can shield capacity stack, I guess. I don't really do that, but you can do that. Or you can just go back to using catalyzing shields for Decaying Dragon Keys. So they left the option open, with some caveats. We have to sacrifice the mod slot, but there's more options than ever now for shield gating and shield tanking. So I think overall a massive W and win for DE on the shield getting changes. Whoever did that did a good job thinking things through and not saying, just nerf it all, take the Decaying Dragon Key away. Those exploiters deserve to suffer. It's like, no, those exploiters are going to suffer by sacrificing one mod slot, and we're all going to have more fun, and we're going to be stronger overall. So great stuff there. Let's move on to the, actually, try to think of a negative part of the shield change. But I guess the only negative part is really you have to sacrifice that mod slot and try to use the catalyzing shields still. So let's move on to an actual negative part. To an extent, you got the companion rework. Now, I have been really enjoying the companion rework. You can see me in the background using the Nautilus Sentinel, and it's actually coming back from the dead. It's not just staying perma-dead like it would before. So yeah, there's plenty of Sentinel options now. My main problem with these Sentinel changes is actually going to be that not all Sentinels are created, or rather, not all companions are created equal, and that's extremely prevalent right now with the new change. We got, plenty of new mods. We have the new bond mods. Some of the only new loot in the update. Those come from the conservation vendors on Plains, Venus, and Deimos, and that will give your companions new special abilities. So, for example, showing the Nautilus. Let's hope this isn't the build I'm trying to keep secret. This is the build I'm kind of trying to keep secret, but hey, you know what? You guys are watching the video. Let's just go ahead and show. This is going to be in a future video right here. It's the Clinging to Life Nautilus. So new abilities are here, these bond mods. Airborne kills decrease the companion recovery timer by 3 seconds. The companions have a respawn timer now, so that's great. They don't ever permanently die if you have the, actually you can't even turn that off. They just instantly will revive now, no matter what. So we can reduce that with Prime Region, getting reworked to reduce that timer. And we have these new Tenacious Bond mods and all that. So this stuff is great, but the problem comes up where it's like, some of the other companions actually still suck, and we need part 2 of this really quickly because what they said they're going to be changing the companion preset mod. So looking at an actual bad companion, let's see, what's an actual bad one? Okay, you know what, this might be a hot take, but after trying this for level 10,000, I think Worm Prime is not very good. I had Worm Prime on my top 10 list for this update, but there's certain things, like this is just not strong enough. This ability right here, Negate, it will prevent one status effect every 5 seconds. What it doesn't tell you is that if you're constantly being slash proc by an enemy, it does not give you status immunity to that slash proc. It's only one slash proc per 5 seconds. So at high levels, if you're surrounded by enemies, you are literally, this is useless. It's one slash proc every 5 seconds. So things like this are not strong enough compared to the Nautilus, compared to the Smida, compared to the Adarza, compared to the Hounds even. The Hounds are better than this now. So we're going to need part 2 because I'm not going to even show you crowd dispersion. Okay, I'm going to show you crowd dispersion. Unleash a 10.0 meter radial knockdown when multiple enemies are nearby, dealing 10.0 damage. Yeah, 10.0. They put the 0.0 in there just to make sure you're not getting, anything overpromised you. It's not any higher than 10.0 damage. So this is when they need to get reworked. They already told us they're doing this stuff, but that's the big thing to me that stuck out like a sore thumb. Some of these precepts are so much weaker than other ones that it makes me not want to ever run like this or run Shade. I think Shade just might be glitched out, but Shade is so much worse than the Invisibility Kubrow. And I already knew that, but I was hoping that the ambush mod for Shade would be better. It's not. The Shade doesn't work properly, so that's a big thing we need to change. Now we have more options. You technically could run this. But yeah, it's just not really powerful enough in my eyes. And a lot of the mods you run between the different Sentinels are going to be the same or similar. So it really just comes down to the precepts of the Sentinels. And if the precept sucks, the Sentinel is basically dead. So I'm not even talking about like animal companions, but like, for example, the Crescent Vulpaphyla. This literally didn't even get changed at all. This is the same as before. You have some bond mods now at least, but this mod still doesn't work properly. This mod still doesn't work properly. And yeah, you like, for example, you would never use this thing, even though this thing is kind of hard to get. Same with the Predicites too. Why would you use a Predicite over a actual meta companion? That stuff's still the case. So that's one of the biggest problems with the Abyssal Dagath update for me, besides the Abyssal Zone having no loot, is the companions only having part 1. Now, I would say part 1 was a success, but yeah, part 2 really needs to hit those angles you weren't thinking about. It's like, oh, did you forget about the crowd dispersion ability and where? No, we didn't. It actually does 10,000 damage now, and it does a 100-meter radius. I'm just joking with that number, but there are companions that are still left in the dust and forgotten. Plenty of the Kubrows are left in the dust and forgotten. Like, I mean, there's one that like does finisher attacks. Like, really? A Kubrow doing finisher attacks? Why would I ever need that? So that's another big thing there too. Now let's go over some of the Archon changes and Kahl mission changes. I kind of dwelled on the companion thing for a while, but as far as the Kahl mission changes, the changes they made Kahl move about 50% faster. They made it where you could infinitely farm stock from the missions, and they also made it where Kahl can pick up extra weapons mid-mission. Oh, he also has like loot radar now as well, I think. So they made some big quality of life on Kahl. I actually was of the opinion they should just never even bother with Kahl because it's just a lost cause to me. And these changes did not really make people like interested in Kahl, and not that they were really going to ever. The biggest thing here is it just makes people that do grind out Kahl missions, the mission just goes faster now. So that's something you can definitely take advantage of in the future if you do want to grind out Kahl missions. Additionally, the infinite stock grind, some people have been doing it. I'd only recommend doing that on Sneaky Sabotage. But yeah, that is technically an option if you want to, get the entire Stynex frame in like one day. You could just grind the Kahl mission over and over again, get those bonus stock boxes, and get Stynex, get the Archon mods, etc., etc. So overall, good change, but not something I really cared about in the first place. So that's more of a middling change. Now, something I do have a problem with to an extent is the Archon hunts. I think Archon hunts are too easy now. Not to mention there is a glitch going on where if you have low FPS, you can insta-kill. Like, you thought the one-shot was gone? Nah, just set your game to 30 FPS, dude. It's a one-shot after that. But yeah, basically, the Archons are too easy now. You can use basically any weapon you want. Any incarnon will do. Like, I had a bunch of people in my comment section for the Archon video like, hey, did this guy not try to burst in Prime? No, dude, I just didn't want to put every freaking weapon in the game in the video. I tested plenty of stuff out. Like, apparently you need like a list of every weapon I tested just to like validate your Burstin build. Yeah, you should see my new Burstin ribbon if you think yours is good. But yeah, I think that the Archons are too easy. I think that there should be more tanky or something. I don't want them to take like 20 minutes long, but I think that if they're the latest game content we have now, we're so power crept, they need to be a little bit stronger or something like that. And while you're at it, DE, you can improve those Archon loot drops, because some of them are really bad. If you're not looking at just the Archon Tau Shard, we're comparing a weekly. I've done an entire video on this, by the way. You're comparing a weekly to a daily on these Archon hunts. Look at the loot table. Okay, so we got 3-day boosters uncommon on the weekly Archon hunt sortie. On the daily sortie, we got a 3-day booster. The exact same loot for a weekly and a daily. That's something that could definitely get changed. Make them maybe more tanky, and then make them also have better loot, hopefully. Some of this stuff is multiplied, like 8,000 Endo, 12,000 Kuva. It's like 4,000 Endo. Yeah, 4,000 Endo, 6,000. So they doubled that one. They didn't double the booster. They didn't double the Exilus adapter. They didn't double the Forma. They didn't double the Orchid Catalyst. None of this stuff is doubled besides like 2 things. Not even the Anasa sculptures are doubled. At least double the Anasa sculptures. Do you give me 3 Anasa sculptures for my weekly or something? So, the Forma is doubled at least, thankfully. So yeah, that's basically going to be it for the Archon changes. Now, am I forgetting anything that was changed in this update? There is some quality of life, like UI stuff that was changed, but I usually keep the legacy UI stuff on. I think it was overall a good update, but it is sorely lacking in the replayability factor for build crafting play. If you're a build crafting player, you like to make new builds, like my Garuda build in the background, which we'll have a video probably in the next 2 days, then, great. You're playing the same missions as before, because there's no new missions to grind out besides the Abyssal Zone, which is just an exterminate. But you're having, hopefully, more fun with the stuff that you already had. The things you had before are stronger than ever. Tenacious Bond gives you more crit damage. Reinforced Bond gives you more fire rate. And, the bond mods make it where your companion can also do other stuff too. So you're stronger than ever in that regard, but you're playing the same missions as before. So yeah, Whispers in the Wall will definitely be more of that, you know, that new content, like new missions kind of thing, where it's like, okay, there's new bounties in this new tile set, basically. It will pretty much be Zeremon 2.0. So I'm looking forward to that quite a bit. I know this update was never going to be that, but I am comparing it to other updates like Citrine's Last Wish and Voruna's Last Hunt, where they were updates that came with a new frame, came with 2 new weapons. I think she has like, I think only Dagath has 1 new weapon. Besides that, they only came with 2 new weapons, and they came with some new arcanes. The missions in those had more loot overall than we have for Abyssal Zone. Abyssal Zone is they can honestly remove it after Halloween for all I care. They can just put Dagath in the dojo and make normal resources to crafter. Seriously. Why is the Abyssal Zone permanent? I don't get it. But yeah, they should have thought more about what people that bought this stuff would be grinding out, besides just playing the same mission that you've been playing for like the last X years. So, hope you guys found this video interesting and helpful. Sorry if I was just complaining the whole time. I tried to put some positivity in there too. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the future of Warframe quite a bit. I'm looking forward to the Whispers in the Wall update. So yeah, I'll be covering that extensively, of course. And we got Plague Star in about a week. So be grinding that like crazy too. Make sure you stop by the live stream channel tonight and on Plague Star. All right, guys, take it easy. Peace.